All right, dear friends, this is our Wednesday version. Don't forget tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Candace Owens live here. We're going to be talking about what's happened. The latest story regarding this Brian Harpole, RAMBO, the ER story, why this is important, and how they are handing to her, literally handing to her, some of the most incredible stories and the most incredible lies anybody's ever seen. We'll talk about that, your thoughts, your comments, your ideas, your observations as we join together tonight, sharing each other's company, and also applying critical thinking and using a little bit of our skullduggery and police work. Now, my friends, I'm going to tell you one more time. These things are going like crazy because people realize that something is bad going to happen. I don't know when, don't know. I'm not happy about this. But if you had to get out right now, for whatever it's worth, a fire, a flood, you name it, aliens, I have no idea. And somebody said, grab a bag and let's go. You probably don't have clothes and food. You need a professionally prepared bug out bag that has things and provisions you would have never thought of. Let the professionals do it for you. And where would you get this? Where would you get it? Right here. Watch. When disaster hits, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back on what you already prepared. Wildfires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, blackouts, EMP and grid attacks, riots, disaster. Get it? And when the warning comes, there's no time to search for flashlights or bottled water or first aid supplies while your family waits at the door. That's why My Patriot Supply created the fully stocked bug out bag. You've got to get this. It's a rugged, grab-and-go tactical backpack packed with 60 emergency essentials, including food, water, shelter, fire, starting tools, lighting, first aid, and more. Everything is already packed and ready right out of the box. Keep one in your car, your home, your RV, your office, your cabin, because the emergencies never make appointments. And right now, you can get $100 off plus free shipping for a limited time. So act now. There will be no special invitation in life. Disaster always comes unannounced. Get prepared now. Go to preparewithlionel.com. That's preparewithlionel.com and click the link today. My friends, welcome. I cannot tell you how excited I am. First of all, that you're here, because you are the star of the show. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad to be with you on this eve where we can discuss. So anyway, set your watches for tomorrow, or your clock for tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Also, we're talking some other things as well, because some other folks in the offing. We got Tucker, who's going to be probably the first part of July. Even Uncle Buck. I'm a big fan of his brother. We got him coming. A lot of people are going to be on board because people are catching on, because people love to be here with us. You love this expansive vocabulary. You are a sesquipedalian. You love being a logophile. You love being a logodaedalus. You love being able to appreciate the mother tongue and to use as many words as possible, as colors, as hues, as almost like a linguistic timbre, so to speak. So that's coming up. Thank you so very much. Let's get down to business. My friends, one of the things which is the most important is that, and I am telling you right now from the beginning, whenever any of us would have a case, especially involving a jury trial, I would always ask friends of mine to let me explain this to you and see if this makes sense. No witness or whatever. Let me just tell you the story. Let me tell you the story. Let me bring up to you what I think is the most important. And then you can tell me what you think is the most important. And invariably, somebody will ask a question. And sometimes it wouldn't be a question I think would be important, but it didn't matter what I thought. It mattered what they thought. And what was really important was when you ask people questions, you first say, tell me the story. Tell me the story. And your first reaction is, am I buying this or not? And what I want to do is I want to go through this and explain to you why these Harpole stories and others, I'm not suggesting these people are necessarily, what am I trying to say? I'm not trying to suggest that they are necessarily bad people, or that they are, I don't know what the word is, but I am suggesting that sometimes, for reasons which we will go through, there is a certain degree of embellishment. Now, I have, believe it or not, in my life, surprisingly, this may come as a shock to you, I am the king of the understatement when it comes to things that I do. I am notoriously awful. Mrs. L will say, "Why didn't you mention that? Why didn't you say it?" Because I don't want to sound like an asshole when it comes to me. I hate braggarts. I won't do this. I cannot tell you in my own personal life when somebody says, "What do you do?" I always laugh. I say, I'm a shepherd. I always throw that out there because I don't even like to do that. You have no idea. I hate talking about myself. I swear to you, one story I'll tell you when Mrs. L and I were, shall we say, courting, she would say, "Well, what about you?" And I said, "Well," and at one point she said, "What's this guy hiding?" I profoundly find my life to be boring. So it's just not my thing. It's just not what I do. I'll talk about other people. And it's not even humility. I just don't, but I hate people who are braggarts. I just hate it. You have no idea. You know, some people hate racism, this and that. I hate it. I hate it like you cannot believe. And I hate to say, "Well, what do you do? What do you do? Who are you? What do you do? What do you do?" Anyway, but there's something that happens right now, and I have met these people. When I this is kind of interesting. When I was first, well, brand new prosecutor, I met so many cops at one time. And then there were policemen, then there were detectives, and then there were the old timers, then there were the undercovers. They were kind of interesting. And sometimes you meet FBI agents, and there's different categories of stuff. And of this, there were regular types. The ones who were the most interesting, but who tended to be a little full of shit, pardon my French, were people who were from SWAT, TRT, tactical response, and because they were somewhat quasi-military. And they happened to, they happened to kind of fall upon the thing that little boys love. They love to be the policeman. They love to be the cop. They love to be the soldier. They love this. They really do. There are people sometimes who are phony cops who get old police cars and they drive around, even though they're not cops. They're in this weird, strange thing where they want people to believe they are. I don't understand it. I've met that. Army people, military. Okay. Now, you can also tell sometimes when the guy's got the deliberate buzz marine haircut. State troopers were like that. They had their whole mentality. They had the Smokey Bear hat. They had sometimes a buzz cut. They just looked really hardcore. And you needed that. Now let me say something before, lest you think that I am blaspheming cops. No. I love the fact that they're proud of what they do, and they make great cops because they really care. Now, why do I bring that up? There is something now called the internet. And the internet provides people the chance to provide a platform they never thought was possible. That's why we have things that they call stolen valor. Stolen valor. Is that an Emmy? Yes. Thank you. I don't want to talk about it, but yes. Thank you very much. This is the. Da-da-da. There you go. Okay. You could weighs a ton. Okay. Now, when they discovered this thing called the internet, all of a sudden these people said, wait a minute. I can kind of come out and I can be like, well, I'm pretty good here. I'm pretty good. I'm just like with Stolen Valor. Did you see Harpole speak with Sean Ryan? I don't know Sean Ryan. He seems like a good guy, but he's kind of that mentality. Well, I'll tell you what, the people you got to do is you got to meet the guys from Delta. I was SEAL Team 6. And then I was Special Ops. And I was, but the Delta boys, the D boys, Special Ops, I'll tell you, they're the best. I don't know why I'm talking like that, but that's the way I always heard these people. And they have sometimes you'll see them, they have the haircuts and now it's this, like Mr. Practical and that sort of thing, or Impractical, Practical, whatever these folks. But Sean will have these people, big guys, big hulking guys, maybe a lot of whatever it is, but tattoos. They never had tattoos. In the old days in the Navy or maybe the Marines, they might have had something, but well, now it's this cottage industry. Now you're going to watch the Sean Ryan show and you just sit around you have nothing but people who are just one story after another. And some people really look it. They really look it. There's a group too. I don't know if you've ever seen this. There was a group. I don't know if we had him here, but in the old days, maybe not now, but in the old days, actors would get as security people, IDF, Israeli kind of security folks. And they all had this tall, either bald or head shaved or hair cropped, so glasses, and they looked almost like automaton. They looked all the same. Okay. I saw one before. I thought they have this look. Okay. Why do I say that? Brian Harpole does two. In fact, Candace played it. One was on Sean Ryan. One was on Mr. Impractical or Dr. Impractical, whatever it is. Tactical Impractical. And at one point, you just say, well, I was using the 4x4s and the squelch pads on the hemostat. And he said, do you do the 1252? Yeah, I'll use 12. That's what I use. That's what you use. That's what Mr. Impractical. Oh, that's so when you're saving a life and you have to pack a gaping wound or something, you use that too. Does this happen a lot? I've never packed a gaping wound, and I'm glad in my life. I'd be very afraid that I might hurt somebody. But see, that's what's coming out. And he started to tell the story. And Harpole just started telling the story. Now, I know I'm not saying it didn't happen. I don't believe it. If I was a juror, I'd say, nah. And as Candace broke down, the story is just impossible. But let's talk about this more. First, if you work for me, and we are something quasi-military, quasi-law enforcement, I'm going to say you are never going to go and appear on any kind of podcast while you're on duty or while you're in our employ. You should hear, by the way, you haven't met this. There's the New York City cop. Listen to a guy named Joe Coffey. Joe Coffey was a friend of mine. He was one of the best. Interesting story. He was one of the son of Sam. But listen to Joe Coffey, Coffey. Listen to his voice. Prototype. Mike Sheehan was the best. He was Channel 5. He was a cop. Oh, my God. He told me the best story. Talk like that. Irish, New York City, Irish kind of West Side, Archie Bunker, but a cop. And they have, you can hear these shows on, YouTube. And they are really, they play it. Have you ever met somebody that other people have told you have been in organized crime? Have you ever met them? Some, and you don't know because they don't tell you this. Other people will tell you this. Other people will say that guy is with so and so. So you don't know this, but that's what they tell you. Some people wear it. The expression is they wear it. There was a guy named Nino Gadji. This guy kind of wore it. Neil Delacroix wore it. Some folks wear it. And it was they exuded. Sonny Franzese, probably. Real cold, real cool. They just central casting. Absolutely. Put it this way. If they didn't do that for a living, they would. Now, I know people, by the way, if you met them, they are as, I don't want to say, but as legit as you can imagine. They would be great actors, but you'd swear, I know a couple of cops like this. They're legit, but they come across like they're so. So what I'm saying is, when you're in this world, if you've ever been to a wedding or a funeral and you see them en masse, you think, wow. It's almost prototypical, stereotypical, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. There's a reason for this explanation. It might be a tad verbose, but I want you to understand this is what you have to know about human behavior. Okay. Reason why I said I don't want you to go on TV, because you're going to say something and you're going to forget what you've said. When you sit down for the first time and you're telling them stories about how you threw Charlie into the back of the car and you used your hemostats and your this and your 4x4s and your 36 feet of what, and you went to the emergency room and you tore off his shirt or whatever, we don't know where the shirt is, or his pants, and you jumped on top of him. And I mean, the stories are, and Candace is being very kind. She said, this screams of bullshit. It absolutely screams of bullshit. Now, you've got his testimony, so to speak, with Sean Ryan, and then you've got it with Dr. Impractical, Tactical, Max Practical. You got that guy. You can listen to them. They're going to change. Why? Because if the story didn't happen, you will change things. Let me give you an example. When people have had things happen to them, specifically trauma, in fact, one of the things that Mrs. L is aware of, and she will tell you, that in dealing sometimes with victims of trafficking and the like, certain things you don't know what the trigger is. It might be a cologne. It might be rain. It might be getting too close to them. It might be a variety of things. And why is that? Why is there a trigger? Because people remember every single thing. They remember every fact, every moment, every smell, and they will tell that story exactly the same every time. It is seared in their brain. And even cops who do relatively routine stuff, because they don't do life and death stuff every day, but when it is, I knew one fellow who was, believe it or not, a real wild, I think it was called New York, they have TRT or ERT. He would go out, he would grab people, jumpers off of bridges, and he really had stories. And I swear to you, I heard him tell the story. Not just me, but other people as well. Exactly the same. And each story was, I could tell you a Mike Sheehan story about was it Mad Dog Sullivan? Mad Dog Sullivan, how he took somebody out. It was Christmas time. And the story was is that it was right around, it was Christmas time, and it was around, there was a bar around either Columbus Circle or something, and he got the order to hit someone. They said the fourth guy from the end. The fourth guy from the end was the story. I'm paraphrasing this. So he walked in, he had a big shopping bag, and it was a shotgun. This is Mad Dog Sullivan. A big Westie, not really a Westie per se, but a West Side guy. Anyway, and real tough. I mean, just watch him on TV. Just listen to him. So when he went to the John or came in, whatever it was, the person who was actually fourth, somebody went to the John. So the person who was the fourth one in really was the third one in, because somebody got up and left. So this guy walks in, 1, 2, 3, 4, takes out the thing, bang, gets him. So I think it was Mike Sheehan at the time. Mike Sheehan, I think he told me that when he, rest his soul, greatest guy in the world, came back, and it was a mess, as you can imagine. So as he was talking to his friend, they noticed, they looked up and they said, "Ooh, look." And they said, "What?" He says, "Right up there, look, see?" And there was a piece of something, something from this glass was like hanging. And he's almost like, dare I say, almost like a piece of, forgive me, hope you're not eating, like snot that was just hanging. And you're wondering, is it gonna fall? Is it gonna? He and somebody else the next day or whatever it was were asking, "Do you think it's still there?" And they went and they checked, and he was still there. Okay, so these are the stories. And you remember this, where it was, what time of the year it was, how it was. It was a fourth bottle in, and we looked up and we turned to you just do this. Okay. When Harpole and when Erica's start to get into the confabulation, where you are creating something, if it occurred, again, I wasn't there. I'm not saying he's lying. I just don't believe it. And I think Candace brought it up. But once you get involved in something and you're looking in front of somebody and you're telling them the story, you will respond to how they respond. You will up the story, turn it up, turn it down. You will adjust accordingly based upon the person you're talking to. Now, also, if you're on a TV show, and Sean Ryan is just as good as a TV show, probably the biggest thing around, and you're going to be world famous, and who knows? You figure, maybe this is like an audition reel, or maybe this is, I don't know, maybe, who knows? You're going to do everything you can to maybe put it a little bit over the top, perhaps, or maybe, maybe help it along. And then you forget that, you say, "That was great." Now, do you remember everything you said? Probably not. I mean, some of these people were in the car. Some of these people were there. I mean, you had... It's not like he was in Cincinnati. I mean, he was there. What he did. Okay. Now we go on. Dr. Impractical tells the same story. Now you're going to hear discrepancies. That's the reason why you don't want to go to grand juries, and you don't want to ever testify if you're not compelled to, because if you give inconsistent statements under oath, this is called perjury. So if you're doing the best you can to tell the story and you screw up and you get the facts wrong, because on Monday you said A and on Wednesday you said B, you could be looking at perjury, because people make a mistake, even though it happened. So you've got this story and none of it made sense. Now, another thing Candace did, which is interesting, when you tell people the story, and when you're listening to somebody tell you the story, especially if you're a cop or anybody else for that matter, if at all possible, ask the person, act it out. Act it out. Not act it, but show me. Here, let's use this. Let's say this is the gun or this is it. Tell me where you were, roughly. If you can possibly get back, if you can see the scene of this, You're absolutely, positively, you're so lucky if you can be actually there to see what we're talking about. You have to see it. Then you realize, wait a minute, this can't be. How did he run that fast? True story. I had a case, secondary murder, nothing big. I mean, it really wasn't that. It was a plea ultimately, but I was kind of looking at it. So help me God, I saw this guy, this picture, and I could still see him in the front seat of his car with his leg bent. It looked almost like somebody put him there. And I remember sitting in the front seat of my car trying to recreate this. And people were looking at me like, what are you doing? My leg like this. What is he drunk? Is this guy driving? I'm doing. I don't know how it happened. One time, I told you this story. There was a detective came by. He was going to close the case. Done. Leave. We're done with it. Take down the crime scene stuff. Sell the house. Do whatever it was. So we had to do a formal kind of we're done with the case. So we're looking at the pictures, kind of reviewing the case. It was not that big of a deal. But I'm looking at this stuff, and there was a shoe. And I said, you know what? I wonder where the other shoe was. I said, you ever see? Sometimes you'll be driving along, and there'll be a shoe, just one shoe, and you wonder where's the other one. How do you lose one shoe? So I told this to the detective, and I said, did you ever find the other shoe? He says, no. I said, huh. Anyway, he went back. He was so good at this. He goes, I know it doesn't matter. The case is closed. The guy pled guilty. I got to find out where the hell is his shoe. How do you not? Anyway, things are weird. And if somebody were to tell you, and I remember the night, because this guy came in with a shoe, and I was this statement. There was a guy one time, it was an Indian fellow, who kept saying, when they robbed this place, he says, we kept the money in a basket. I said, a basket? It was a basket. And I said, that's how you say it. Basket? Oh my. I'll not change for that 20. My Lord. I'm really, really tired. The V's and the W's. And when he would talk, I would just say, how does he do that? They would invert it. I don't have change for that 20. I'm really, really V's or W's, W's or V's. So I asked him one time, I said, how do you say basket? And he laughed. Good guy. But he said this story, how when he came in, and he came, he goes, oh my God, somebody left the coffee machine on because he could smell. He goes, you don't have any coffee smells like it's burnt when they basket? And then he came in and he tells a story. Every time he tells a story, he talks about this. You just repeat things. And it's completely. And you don't ever say, I jumped on. Can you imagine jumping on top of somebody? Can you believe jumping on top of a gurney or something and maybe hurting somebody? We have a thing called the Good Samaritan statute, which allows for certain limited liability, immunity, if you try to help somebody. Let's say you pull over the side of the road and somebody's hurt and you try to render aid or something. If you have to worry about you being charged civilly, let's say you hurt the guy, you're not going to want to do it. So society has gone out of its way to perhaps maybe giving you the okay, the green light, so to speak. So you'll be given, depending upon your state, certain, as long as you don't act reckless, you'll get a pass. Like, for example, sometimes if you're doing like that, CPR, you might break a rib. You might actually cause, if there's some kind of an internal hemorrhage, it might be the worst thing to do. You don't know. I don't know what to do. I have no clue. I have no idea. The last thing I'm going to do is jump on top of somebody. And by the way, somebody who's my friend, and I'm going to start packing. And other people are going to let this happen. Police are, and the medical personnel are going to say, "Who is this guy? What the hell? Who is he? He's jumping on top? What are you, a killer? What? You don't know anything. The story doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now, here's the best thing. Something happened, my friend, which was the greatest thing ever. Do you know where I was the most amazed? It's called Making of a Murderer. Remember the Stephen Avery? Did you ever watch that? Did you ever see that? On Netflix? It was one of the best stories. Not the story. The story was, it was weird, very, very strange. But what it was when people themselves would weigh in, they would be their own, what's the word? Their own out open source people. People who just looked at this and said, I don't buy this. Look at this. Somebody who sent Candace a picture of the Rode microphone up close, and they showed that it might have been bigger. Look, just somebody who's just, not that they have nothing to do, or these bored, weird people. No, they're smart. Some of the best investigations ever in JFK were civilians. You don't have to be a police officer. Sometimes they're the worst because they look at things differently. If somebody really is involved in knowing the case, they will go out of their way to understand everything about it. They will want to know. And the reason why Candace scared them is at Fort Huachuca stuff. They said, "Oh shit, just shut her down. You're crazy. They don't know anything about it. They know nothing about it." Have you ever heard Max Blumenthal talk about Gaza and Israel and the atrocities and genocide? Listen to him. Will blow you away. He's a journalist. He's a young man. He will, you can't believe this happened. Listen to him. Because why? He's listened to it and he's scared it. When the OJ case came, I knew it inside and out. To know the facts of the case is when you're the best at this. Candace is great at remembering the facts of the case. Remember the names, remember who was who, remember a lot of stuff. Because Erica, who's a confabulist, doesn't remember any of this stuff. She doesn't remember what she said. She doesn't even care. She just wants you to say, am I pretty? How is my performance today? I'm not going to remember anything that I say. I picked the kids up from school. I didn't pick them up from school. I did take them by Charlie's office. I didn't take them by. I don't know. I don't care. That's who she is. But the people who listen, they remember everything. Say, Mrs. L, never, ever, 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 ever get into an argument with Mrs. L. I've never been there. Douglas Murray. Douglas Murray is so full of shit. He is so pompous, haughty. He is the most unattractive, not physically, but his argumentation. If you had the slightest compassion for Israel, he will destroy it. Whenever you're on TV, whenever you're talking to somebody, try to make a concession without making a concession. Do yourself a favor. If ever you're on TV, do something along the say, you know what? That's a good point. That's an excellent point. And then move on. Tell them what your story is. You didn't say you agree with them. You're saying that's a good point. It works like a triangle. Oh, okay. And then this guy's not too bad. He's not so bad. That's a great point. You know what? Did you hear that? That's a great point. Say it again. Great point. Do you believe it? No. But it's a great point. Murray always wants to come up because he thinks he's smarter. It's that British. It's that Piers Morgan. These Brits think they're smarter than you. They just think they're better than you. And he's the one who's these Christopher Hitchens did this, especially those who have been Oxford or Cambridge. They really, oh my God. By the way, don't forget, Candace's husband, George, I think he's Oxford. He was a member of the same club that I think that Tony Blair and Boris Johnson were. So he's no Geordie, you know what I mean? But a good guy, must be, obviously. By the way, no word on whether they're going to name the baby Lionel. I don't know. I'm hearing things. I don't know. Make up your mind. Please don't let me pressure you in any way whatsoever. But these people are the worst. So always say something. Always say, that's a good point. Whenever somebody is talking to you, if it's your boss, if you've ever had to deal with somebody who has been like in the radio business, they're just the worst. They don't know what they're talking about. They can't do it themselves. So you got to say something. I've always learned the best is to say, interesting. Interesting. That's it. You're not agreeing with them. You're not agreeing with them. And oh, by the way, remember this one. I've been using this one for years. Whenever you want somebody to do something for you, whenever you're calling somebody, you're dealing with the cable company, or you wanted your money back, or whatever it is. When you ask them for, what I like to do is I like to basically keep the deposit, which you gave me back twice in error. I want to keep all of the equipment, not return it. And I want to basically have you pay me for your mistake. And you can understand that, right? Just say that. And you can understand that. And they will say, yes. I don't know why they say yes. It's a patellar response. Yes. They say, yeah. So all this jazz that's going on is wonderful. And Sean Ryan just wants clicks and he's watching and this stuff. He's got a great show. But sometimes these people are really, really something. By the way, do you know anybody who's ever been in war in your family? You ever know this? Anybody who's been in war? Grandpa, uncle, father? Where they never talked about it? Never. You ever wonder about that? Your father could probably say, well, son, there was a. And by the way, Sean doesn't ask follow-up questions. Sean's job is not to be the interrogator. He's got to have a TV show or a podcast. He wants you to enjoy. He's not going to. People aren't going to show up if he tears them apart. Oh yeah, what? No, that's not his job. But if you ever know somebody, I'll tell you a story one time. It was a friend of a friend. His father was in Korea. And they never talked about it. They didn't even know half of the stuff until like later on. And one time they didn't realize this, but they took him to fireworks, 4th of July. And they didn't clear this with him. And he went berserk. And he just missed this throughout his life. Lucky for him, it just never came up. And he went to some event, and when he heard that, I'm the boom. Now, this was 1953, 50. This was obviously, a long time. I mean, it was like, yeah, he never talked about it. Never. I'm not telling you that when somebody does talk about it, but I'm always a little suspect. A lot of people think, you know what, I don't want to talk about it. It was this, unless they were there and they didn't do anything, or they, I'm not saying everybody's wrong. Did you ever hear the story about that guy? You know the guy, the sheriff of Baghdad? What's his name? Gork, Dork. You know who I'm talking about. I think he was on with Joe. Another one. Hang on. I wrote this guy's name down. I keep a list of all these people because I don't watch all of them, but I just forget their names. I don't really catch their names. This guy was hang on, I'm looking. Oh, I think, is it Valhalla, VFT? I don't know. I think something like that. Is it Valhalla? He does some good stuff. I think it's Valhalla. Let me see. Valhalla. Is that him? Yep, that's him. Yeah. So I listen to him. He seems to know what he's doing, I guess. I like some of the stuff he says. It's very good. But he took that fellow. What was his name? The sheriff of Baghdad. You know what I'm talking about? Remember the guy with the he was Delta Force. Anyway, he was stripped of everything. I mean, what is his name? Anyway, I had no idea. And he's on TV and doing this. Blah, blah. Okay, look. Now, if you really want to see something that's very interesting, whether you, irrespective of what you think, especially now, because it's very sad about this. But there were folks when, whether you like it or not, when Israel first started the Haganah and when Mossad was so, the ones who grabbed Eichmann, okay? Now say what you want. Say what you want about Bibi. Say what you want about. I don't want to get into that right now. You're right. But these fellows who went and grabbed Shrek McPhee, thank you. Listen to that one. Like, wow. When they went to, it was Argentina, and grabbed Eichmann and brought him back, this was hardcore. And you should have seen the badasses. They look like. Now, granted, you're not going into Buenos Aires with machine guns, but they were like just, and they would laugh. Well, nah. That's the ones that I thought. The real. If you're going to go in there, you're going to have somebody do something. You're going to have people. I told you this the other day. We're talking about the mechanics. Listen to what I'm telling you. How do you know? How do you know? This is the most important. This is the most important thing in the world. How do you know that there is not a, how do I say this? How do you know? I'm busy. Anyway, one of the things which is most important is that if you're going to have somebody do something like this, who are the people you're going to get to do it? Who are going to be the people to go in there? Let me ask you something. How is it that they would have had this Rode mic? How would this be done? Ask yourself, who would be the people who did this? Who would be the people who would have actually done this? Answer my question. Answer my question. Who would be the key? Who would be the people who would actually do this? Answer me. And I'm serious. I want you to be a part of my team. And we're sitting around a big table. Who do you think? Let's assume that device, that black Rode. Let's say this is white, of course, but it was black. How do I get this? How do I get this on him? How do I get this? Think about it. Who would you go to first? How would you get this on him? Who mics him up? Who gives him the mic? Charlie doesn't have his own. Charlie doesn't say, I'll pick my microphone today. I'm going to do a handheld today, but today I'm going to do this. It's the people who, either the security team or the people who hand this to him. It's that simple. That simple. This is not a genius. This is not stealth work. If that's your reasoning, and what I would do was with Candace, I would say, we are going to proceed with this. We're going to look at this hypothesis and we're going to run it, see if we hit a roadblock. If it makes sense, it's going to make sense. But let's see if we get into a problem. Because we don't know anything. Remember, we still are limited because we don't have any kind of the results of the dissection of the neck. We don't know what was found in there. We don't know. We don't know anything. All right, that notwithstanding. It's the team. It's the people around him. All those people. Nobody leaves. Nobody. I guarantee you, after JFK, after anything, you ask yourself the security team, because these are the people who are the closest to you. Now remember, at the time, they weren't thinking that. Nobody was thinking this. They're thinking it now, though. They're thinking it now. And I would get every person in there, every single one. If I'm the FBI, and if this is legitimately a real FBI, you call everybody in, and technically you subpoena them to something. You order them, you compel them. You could do the old let's talk to them business, but I want to see if somebody says, no, I'm not talking to you. Who in their right? Who takes the fifth in the security team? Who? Who does it? Who would do that? You're in the security team. You want somebody to say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not. No, I'm lawyering up. You're what? You're what? Then I talk to the other people. Did you know that so-and-so is not talking to us? Yeah, what do you think that's about? I don't know. Anything weird going on? Anything strange? Why is that? And then it starts. It just starts. Now, again, we're not picking out any names. If we were going to do a movie, this is what we would want to know. Let's say who shows up. Most people say, of course I'm going to talk to you. Who actually gave him this mic? Who gave him? As somebody would say, I did. I gave him this. And where did you get it? I got it from so-and-so. Who decided this time? Normally, Charlie had a handheld. Sometimes he didn't. This is all talking. Who was it? Is this like Paulie? Who was missing that day? Who had a beef? Who was the person? That's the one. And then when you talk to somebody one day, the same thing that happened with Alec Baldwin in that Rust movie. Who handles it? Who was the armorer? Who handled the gun? Who gave him the gun? Is this normal? What was different? Let me talk to people. You never know until you start asking. And if they come forward and say, of course I'm going to help you. And if somebody says, I'll tell you what, some weird guy with a funny accent came to me and said, they're from the road company. Forget road because they have nothing to do with this. But let's assume there's some crazy story about it. And he gave me this special mic to try out. That might be something. I'm just saying, you never know. Unless and until she brings up this subject, unless and until this is the most important, unless and until Candace brings up, we don't know anything. But they're not going in that direction. What they're going to do is they're going to say, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, you're a lunatic, you're crazy, you're nuts. I would be the first one to say, that's a great idea. Let's talk about it. And you think that Harpole, these people would say, I'd love to look at that as a possibility. I'm not going to leave anything out. I'm in charge of security or whatever it is. Absolutely. But that's not what people do. Sometimes they worry about the territory. But that's the thing. Who are the people there? Nobody else. Do we have film? What film is available? Do we know who mic'd him up? Who? Who was it? As in Candace said, where's the pants? Where's the shirt? Where's the evidence? Where was this stuff found in the car? Everything in that car had to have been sealed and kept forever, put into bags. People coming up with, hairnets and not dropping their own skin cells, whatever. You want these special vacuum cleaners that suck things up and they maintain. It was the worst one ever. This is a homicide. This is a murder investigation immediately. And every single cop who's ever lived, any Fed, any Secret Service, anybody knows, we always remember that there's a possibility of the story that we believe happening not happening. So never, ever, ever get rid of it. Don't ever, whatever they tell you the story was, oh, if it's obviously the shot came from that way. Yeah, we've heard this before. History is filled with this. I don't want to be a part of some stupid conspiracy theory because I was the asshole who never followed through with this. And you're not going to pin anything on me. Remember that guy? What's his name? The Clint. He was the Secret Service man who always cried. This guy PTSD from the. Remember the Secret Service who were out drinking that night before Kennedy? But anyway, he was the one, Clint, whatever his name was. He was the one who said, I always thought to myself, have you ever seen a crime scene paved over? No. I told you, I've seen it sealed, immediately sealed. And also, nobody leaves. Nobody. That's why the night of the White House press, by the way, whatever happened with that White House Correspondents' Dinner, the guy who did the shooting, whatever happened to him? Any idea? No. Whatever happened? I don't know. Whatever happened to him? I don't know. Nobody, no idea. Was he charged? No. We don't know. It's like it never happened. It's like it never happened. And what's interesting more than anything else is if you recall correctly, when Erica says, I want to go home, and she said, I want to leave, and they took her out. Remember that? They walked her out. How did she leave a crime scene? You don't leave one. You don't leave a crime scene. You might have something on you. I want to talk to you. I want to know the name of every single person there. I want an inventory. You can leave, but I want I want some info. I want your name. I want to know where you're from. So I get a roster of everybody in that room that night. It's that simple. And believe me, when Candace comes forward and she brings this up, the next thing that happens is if there is a groundswell, if there are enough people coming forward and says, hey, wait a minute, she brings up a good question. What about that, Mike? They're trying to kill this before it gets out of control. What about that, Mike? What about that story? You know, it's a good point. It's a good point. It's very, very simple. Have you ever caught somebody seriously who was just really, 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 how do I say this? Have you ever, hey, Lee, who is it? Who is an a-hole? I'm sorry. Sometimes I look up and say, am I missing something? Have I ever said, who is so annoying? Just curious. Just sometimes I look up and oh my God, I think I'm messing up. The fireman killed in Butler. The wife still doesn't have her husband's clothes. I mean, things don't make sense. Some of this stuff does not make. Oh yeah, Erica. Sorry. It's things just don't make sense. Do you know that when parents don't drive the police crazy and say, what are you finding out? What are you finding out? Did you find anything? Do we know where my daughter is? When parents don't do that, you think, oh. And also when somebody says, I'd love to tell you this one. Hey, Brian, yeah. Would you mind coming with me? You're willing to help out. Yes. Good. Hi. I'm Special Agent so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Can you come with me? Yeah. Where are we going? We're going to the hospital. And you know who I have? I have the people who were there that night. Did you know that? You probably haven't seen them since then, or that day, I should say, not night. And we played for them what you said on Sean Ryan and Captain Gizmo or Impractical, Tactical, Schmactical. And they've got some questions to ask you. And by the way, roll tape on this. Videotape everything. Would you come with us? I don't want to go. Well, why not? Would you like to meet with us? What if some doctor said, who are you? Well, this is Brian Harpole. This is RAMBO. I don't know who you are. Well, he jumped on top of nobody jumped on anybody. What are you talking about? When did you jump on? Inside the emergency room? No way. Anybody see this? Maybe they did. Somebody may say, yes, you're absolutely right. Okay. But what if they didn't? What if they said, wait a minute, that never happened? Didn't happen. And what about this? What about no? No, it didn't. No, we would never allow it. You can't go into it. You can't. And by the way, where are doctors? First thing I'm gonna do is where's all that information? Where? Well, somebody wanted it. Who wanted it? You see, if you don't have a team that thoroughly vets this, who says, I'm on it, as opposed to Cash Patel saying, don't, we got it all taken care of. Just let this thing go. We don't want people to we don't want to give Candace any credit. I'd be all over this. I'd have everybody that night. And I'd say, ma'am, hi, how are you? I'm a special agent so-and-so. I want to tell you something. Do you know this guy's picture here? Let me show you a picture. You know this guy here? Yeah. He says, here, let me show you a video. Can I, what's your name again, nurse? So you were there? Yeah. I want you to watch this. He says he jumped on top. Did you see that? I didn't see that. Okay. Would you be willing to testify? Absolutely. Hey, Brian, guess what? Nobody saw this, or they did see it. I don't know. But if ever there was a follow-up with real cops and real subpoena power to find out who was it, the first question is, who handed him that mic? Who is he? Do you know where he is? Hey, for example, if I said, hey, listen, let's say I talked to let's say Jeremy Edelson. I made a name up. He was a guy who, and maybe we got him in a video, pinning him. Say, can I talk to you? Yes. First of all, you are not a suspect. You are not a target. You are a witness. So I just want you to know, I'm not targeting you with anything. Now you got to be very careful because, if they're a target, you got to let them know, and you might have to read Miranda. And by the way, let me ask you a question. Does Miranda do anything? Does Miranda shut people up? Yes or no? If I were to say, Mr. Edelson, may I say something? You know you have the right to remain silent, right? And anything you say can and will be used. You've heard the incantation. Does that shut people up, or does that make no difference at all? What do you think? Because a lot of cops don't want to do that. They would say, I don't want the guy to think he's a suspect, so I'm not going to read it to him. Because you have to be in custody and you have to be interrogated. And if I'm talking to him at his office, he's not in custody. He's at his job. Back of a patrol car is a different story. But what do you think? Do you think it makes any difference? The answer is, doesn't make a bit of difference at all. Doesn't make a bit of difference. People love to hear Miranda. They love it. They even go crazy when you don't read it to them. You didn't read me my rights. Well, I wasn't asking you a question. You didn't read me my rights. Sir, Miranda is only for a custodial interrogation. You weren't in custody. They don't want to hear that. They're used to it. They think everybody reads it. They think you're being courteous. Well, thank you. You know you have the right to remain silent. Well, of course, of course I do, but of course I'm going to talk to you. But thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. Always read it. When in doubt, whip it out, meaning the card. So if you ask somebody, what happened? In fact, I said, listen, Jeremy, did you know something? I'm going to tell you something. And I don't know if you've heard this or not. But I want and I'm going to say this because I want your reaction. Some people are saying that the microphone that you put on Charlie, that this was rigged, either with an explosive, some directional charge, something, but that the projectile, whatever it was, that ultimately entered Charlie's neck came from the microphone that you put on him. What do you think about that? And if he said, that's ridiculous. Why? Because I took that thing apart the other day. Makes no sense at all. Why? Because that thing wasn't worked. It didn't work. I used 2 or 3 of them. I've got a bunch of them. And I just have them here. In fact, I've got some more. Do you have any more over there? Yeah. I want to see how you could take it apart and look at it. It's one thing when you have something that just blows up. It's another thing when you have something that's kind of like directional. See, what happened was most people think they were going to put it like over his heart, like right around here, so that it would blow. It just would basically go right into his heart. And that's what some people say. Well, if that's true, that whoever pinned it apparently didn't get the memo, which would work against the notion of his being involved in it. Because if he's the killer, if he's the accomplice, then he would have known where to put the thing on. He's actually putting it on, well, let's put it over here. It's less intrusive, and Mike, it's directional. So you never know until people talk to him. Until somebody says, I'm not talking to you, mister. Can I talk to you? I didn't want to put that thing on who? That man made me. What man? You never know what people are going to say because nobody's asking these people. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's interested but Candace. And you think Charlie would have said, I want agents there right away. Get rid of this. Find out. Don't tell anybody. So that when I said, excuse me, Candace, we already looked. And out of all the people that were there, nobody did blah, 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 blah. And there was no powder or anything on this. Who knows? But they're not lifting a finger. They don't care. They're doing nothing. They don't care anything about going through this. That's the part. And if we get the rest of the country to say, you know what? Let's at least look into it. Look, it may be nothing. I don't know about you, but I don't like inside jobs like that. I'm not rooting for this. You know what I hope? I hope to God. Ready for this? I hope it was something really stupid. That it was a mistake. Somebody's phone blew up, or it was innocent and we don't know. And I don't want there to be evil forces working behind, trying to shut him up. I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not looking for that. I don't get a kick out of that. I don't know about you, but that's not my thing. I'm not looking for that. I would much rather dispel that. I don't want to live in a world. I've had enough my whole life. I'm tired of all these conspiracies. I'm tired of these innocent people being killed and shot and assassinated. I'm done with this. I really don't. I don't want this. I don't want this. But that being said, we're on to something. And this is critical that we continue with this. So my friends, God bless Candace for doing this. And we'll be able to tell her tomorrow, 7:30, when she joins us. Now listen, my friends, Mrs. L has a new video. Please go to see her YouTube channel at Lynn's Warriors. She was all day long. She was exhausted in the rain in D.C., in the rain going. And she said that some of the people that they met, she said, I'm going to tell you something. Some of these politicians who you think are just worthless for most stuff, they're very good with this. There were a lot of people who, like Amy Klobuchar, actually was doing some good stuff. Blumenthal was doing okay. It's a weird thing. Josh Hawley gave a tremendous address to the family. And you may think these are people who are worthless all over the place. Let me also tell you something. And before we cut out, watch very carefully what happened in the 3 big cases here in New York City. I know it's New York. I know nobody cares about this. But watch what this means for Zoran Mamdani to give them his blessing. And they won. This is enormous. And this has to do with America First, Middle East, huge. We'll get to that maybe later on. In any event, my friends, I thank you. I thank you. Have a great and a glorious and a beauteous day. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, make sure that you stay. Please like this video. Like it. It's very critical. I've got some questions for you later on to add to your thoughts and comments. But also I want you to ask the question of what you could do to spread the word. Tell your friends to join us. Hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. And also make sure you're subscribed, because for some reason we are losing. Sometimes these subscriptions, they don't stick. In any event, thank you, my friends. It's always an honor to speak with you. Thank you so much. Tomorrow's a big day. Join us then. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. Show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.